I write origin stories. I mean, that's what I do. You know, if you look at the social network, obviously a lot happened after the end of the social network. Most of the story happened after the end of the social network, right? What Facebook became, you know, what happened with Facebook. But I think it's a great origin story of Facebook. And that's what you want to tell. That's what I want to tell. When I watch the Marvel movies, I love the original Wolverine origin story. A lot happens with Wolverine after the origin story, but that's no reason not to tell the origin story. And Bitcoin Billionaires was my book about crypto. And it's, you know, the origins of the Winklevoss twins' giant fortune in Bitcoin. But it also tells the story of the early days of Bitcoin. And most of the Bitcoin story has happened after that story. But that's still a great telling of that. And so I think similarly, this is the GameStop story. Whatever happens with GameStop from here on out, the GameStop story is what happened in those 4 days in January. That's what I truly believe, because before that, there was no GameStop story. And everything that happened after that happened because of that, right? The short squeeze that, you know, people believe is not done yet, it all goes back to that, right? And Robinhood's blocking the trading and all of that. That is the GameStop story. It has a beginning, middle, and end. I think the end is the congressional hearing. Now, everything that happens after that, of course, is another story, and it continues forward, and anything could happen from here. But I think that, you know, really the story you want to read and you want to hear and you want to see is, how did this all happen? What the heck's going on? Why is GameStop even something we're talking about? And that's captured in the Antisocial Network. And so I don't think it's a valid criticism to say you can't write a story until it's over, because none of these stories are ever over. When are you going to write your story? 12 years from now, when GameStop has its third short squeeze? I mean, I don't get what the criticism is. But I also understand people are always angry when you write a story, just for whatever reason. I've never written a book that didn't get angry comments. so you know, that goes with the territory. But yeah, I think the beginning, middle, end of this story, you know, is in the story, and I think you'll see it when you read the book.
So so this is GameStop's origin story, or is it one of the
characters'
origin story?
No, it's the GameStop situation origin story. It's the idea that fundamentals are no longer important. That what really matters is the community is, and it's also the sort of revolutionary movement of the retail trader, if you want to call it that, or of the Reddit mob, if you want to call it that, or of the community of regular people versus Wall Street that has come to a head. Like, Wall Street was the last bastion that felt it was not going to be affected by social media, you know, or the digital age. You know, the music industry, the arts, everything has been completely affected. Politics by social media and the democratization of reality, of the fact that we all have a voice now. But Wall Street still was this silo that wasn't affected, where you had to have a suit and a tie and a Harvard degree, and then you were a Wall Street trader, and that's who trades on Wall Street. Well, that's gone to hell now, right? And that's this movement, I think, that we're seeing, this revolution of regular people who suddenly have the tools of Wall Street on their phone, and the money, because 10 million people on Reddit with $1,000 each is bigger than any Wall Street bank. So I do think that this is a big moment in history, where the financial markets are going to resonate with this, you know, for now on.
Yeah, I mean, I had often thought that finance had already had its kind of like disruption moment when there was things like internet banks coming out and maybe even crypto in a way. But
this is where I hadn't the crypto thing. But listen, Wall Street functions essentially how it functioned. It hasn't really reacted to that, which is why they were taken by such surprise when GameStop suddenly becomes worth as much as like GE, right? From their point of view, how can this happen? And yet they see it in crypto, but that's something separate. That's not Wall Street. That's crypto. No. And that's, you know, internet banking, but still internet banking is kind of off the grid a little bit. You know, it's credit cards and things like that, right? You still can't use a credit card to trade, you know, to gamble, right? I mean, it's not there yet. They haven't really gone there yet, but this is right in their heart. You know, this is on the stock exchange. It's like suddenly the stocks that are on the stock exchange, you have to look at them differently. Could I short Bed Bath & Beyond and not have it become a big issue? Maybe I can't anymore, right? And that's when it starts to be, we have to take into account the fact that we're no longer a silo. that the millions of people out there are a part of our decision making now. And so I think that that's revolutionary.
What do you think is going to be the biggest long-term impact of this moment, of this origin story? Like, where do you see the biggest change coming from this,
I think
if at all?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. We're more than twofold. I think on the one hand, retail traders are going to recognize their power, and I think that Wall Street recognizes retail traders' power and understands that how they look and what moves they do, it's just as important as the math behind it, right? It's no longer just an algorithm to decide what you're going to buy and what you're going to sell. It's taken into account what is this thing that I'm buying and selling, and who out there also wants to buy and sell it, and why. And I think that's important. Secondary, I think short selling is going to come into view. I already know that hedge funds are much more careful after this about what they would publicly short. The idea of just filing something with the SEC is no longer just paperwork. The idea is that I could become a target because I shorted a company that people love. So I think that's called into question, and maybe there'll be some regulation around it. Payment for order flow is going to be regulated, I think. I think the idea that you talked about, that, you could be the product rather than the consumer, they're taking a hard look at that. And companies like Robinhood will have to deal with that. And so those are, I think, the three main things. But I think in general, people are going to be wary of the stock market, the idea of whether it's gamified or whether it's a casino. I think it's pretty clear that it is a casino and that it's gamified. And I think that regulators have to take a look at that and say, how do we fix that if that's a problem? How do we keep it from being a casino? And should college kids be able to just buy and sell whatever they want without any regulation? I mean, should there be trading accounts open for high school kids, right? All of these things, people are starting to have to look at, I think, much more carefully.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. Don't forget our sponsor, ExpressVPN, and my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, can both be found in the links in the description below. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. It's the best way to help us grow. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Screw the hedge funds.
You can make as many rules as you want, but if there's no teeth behind them, what's the point?
Well, like Citadel is potentially just gone in a few months. It feels like financial institutions, that they are all laughing at us by buying GME. Screw the hedge funds. Like, I will lose my entire investment if it brings them down.
Why on earth, last May, could you buy the entire company for $200 million?
What's been happening on Reddit and in social media and in the marketplace has never been seen before.
I argue that nothing is off the table. There is nothing off the table when dealing with the volumes of money in something as big as the United States stock market.
The hedge funds have clearly underestimated a group of people raised on Friday night World of Warcraft raids.
Dark pools, they're another mechanism to manipulate and cheat. Mainstream journalists don't say these things for a number of reasons. One is their sources are the people that I'm talking about, and so they can't call somebody a crook.
Superstonk and the other communities that have emerged are a hive mind, the likes of which we have never seen before. It's madness and brilliance, insanity and genius all rolled into one. It's very possible that Citadel will be gone in a few months. And not just Citadel, but the entire financial system has the potential to come crashing down. These crooks continue to gamble recklessly with the world economy, and this could be the moment that they finally get their justice.